Good evening. Welcome to the August 14th Commission on Disabilities meeting. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, going to do a roll call of the members. Vice Chair Rick Frenny.
Present.
Michelle DeBellis.
Present.
Enza Goodwin.
Present.
Robert Bent is absent. Paul Mazzoni is absent. And Chair and ADA Coordinator Ralph DeChico, I'm present. The first item I have, I'm just briefly going to go over is my monthly conference call for a code of the Commission on Disabilities Alliance that I had it on Wednesday, August 8th. I printed out just a brief summary of just a couple of the key points that had happened. I know I had discussed in previous meetings that there was an AHVP line item that we were trying to get in for approval, and there was also Senate Bill 1379, along with that also coincided with 2498 in the House relative to the Architectural Access Board. The good news, positive news, is the AHVP got 1.15 million increase in this year's budget. So it was previously, I believe it was 5.5 million. In the state budget. So this is huge news. Depending upon how the money is spent, as many as 100 more vouchers could be used statewide as a result of this victory. And what the alternate housing voucher program provides is rental vouchers to the disabled applicants who are elderly and disabled and have been eligible for Chapter 667 housing. So what it is if the local housing authorities are already applying for AHVP vouchers, they can submit and try and get a few more of those in the city. So what I'm going to try and do now that line item was approved is talk to Revere Housing and see if they're presently getting AHVP vouchers and let them know that this line item was increased. To see if they can possibly try and apply for some more for our disabled and elderly residents in Revere, and see what can be done on that. And if they do not presently apply for them, there's steps that they can do to try and apply for that. So that was a bit of good news that we were advocating on the state level with our delegation to get passed. And less positive news, the AA bill was not going to pass in this session. What that would have done, it was an act relative to the Architectural Access Board. It was going to align state access regulations with the Architectural Access Board with the federal architectural regulations of the American with Disabilities Act. Aligning the AAB with the ADA imperative to ensuring accessibility for employment, housing, and equal civil and human rights for all people with disabilities across the Commonwealth. But we'll be renewing this in the next fiscal year with the legislative sessions. One other thing that I just wanted to go back on with the AHVP license, even though that did pass, it's going to take roughly until possibly 2019 for those vouchers to be established. So that's why it's imperative for the housing authorities to apply for them now. So I will go in discussions with that. I'll contact the appropriate people at Revere Housing and let them know and see if they are going to pursue that. I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments on that. If you could come up to the microphone and just state your name for the record. And just push the button right on the microphone. There should be a button right on the bottom so the red light comes on.
Yes. Hello, I'm Priscilla Verona Tunkara, and my question about the bill that you just talked about, AHVP.
Yep.
Is that for housing, apartment living, and places that are designated for?
Yes.
And not for private sector
No,
housing?
no, it's a different type of
And the
funding.
relationship with the established subsidized housing programs, is that something you have to switch in and out of?
It's
or
a
is that-
different-
It's an additional?
No, it's a different type of funding. Yeah, it's a totally different type of funding that you would already be into when you originally applied. There's the Section 8 funding, and then there's the AHVP funding.
Is
which-
it also the I went to workshops at the Federation, and they were encouraging parents of kids who are about to transition to adulthood to apply for housing for autism. I don't know if it's a community kind of thing, because it was basically in Winchester.
Yeah, this is like for the housing authority, the properties that the local housing authorities have, such as like in Rivera, like Coolidge Street, Rose Street, properties that are managed by the local housing authorities. So they would be housing units.
Set aside.
Set aside, yeah.
Not created, but set
No,
aside.
set aside, yeah. What it is different communities have so many AHVP vouchers. Certain communities have them, certain communities don't. They can apply for them. So what this bill was doing is creating more money into that line item in the budget. It raised it by 1.5 million. So what that turns into is roughly about another 100 vouchers that would be able to be issued statewide. And what has to happen is the different housing authorities can apply for them. And then they spread them out throughout the state where they're needed at a need basis, and what they have for accessibility facilities in their
All right,
housing.
So this has nothing to do with coming of age kids with autism?
No, this is just anybody any disabled or elderly residents. It's AHVP. It's totally different.
Do
Yeah.
you know about what I'm talking about?
I haven't heard of that one. That's
That
something.
was
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah, that's, if you know the bill number, we can look into it.
Maura Sullivan?
Yeah.
She's the person who gave me more information, but she's talking about a whole nother something.
Yeah, it's
not-
probably a different type of,
She's talking about-
that's transition, so you're basically, it's transitional living.
Maybe that's the
Yeah,
title.
that's probably transitional living.
Okay.
That's probably something different.
Okay, thanks,
Yeah,
sorry.
this is, yeah,
Right, it is transitional, it's private housing as well.
Okay.
There wouldn't be,
by the housing authority.
yeah, it wouldn't be the housing authorities, the housing complex projects types, it would be private housing.
Okay.
Uh,
They're probably still in the process. I know this right here, this AHVP has been something that the organization that I've been working in has been working on this for several years, and this finally just came to fruition this year after several years that they've been working on it. I've just been involved in a few months that I've joined on with them, whereas like the other bill where they're trying to do is now a couple of years, and that one still hasn't passed. It's like anything. It's so hard to get anything. But if you find out, send me an email too, and I can look into it, and I can bring it up to our group too, and discuss it. Okay. Okay.
So when we recently started to reconvene last year, we had Till come out to speak to us. And at that time, Lisa Connors talked to us a lot about different housing options. So I could share with you her contact information, because it sounds more like what you're talking about is what Lisa. Yeah.
Line up everyone to connect wherever they are to these people, and you get a whole bunch of people to go home with.
Right.
Kind of sit there, but I hadn't really looked at it again, because all my issues are about school.
At this, right. But yeah, I can share with you her information at the end of the meeting. No, so, yeah, so I don't know, so for our catchment, my son is a part of Till, and Till is based out of Dedham, yeah, and so right. So I'm not sure about Winchester. Okay.
Anyone else have any comments on it?
Yeah, it's an absolute shame there's not a workshop set up in the schools for the next step for transition, when these children approach 18, 19, go to the post-grad, what to expect, work with all the different state agencies. I mean, I've been through it once, and I'll go through it again in a couple of years with my daughter, and I've been through it once. It's tough, finding out everything from housing and mentorship to getting a job and having the right, I mean, I'm fortunate enough where I have a good job where I can have his health care, but sometimes doesn't cover enough. Can he get mass health? What's going on here? What else is he eligible for? And it's a map with no targets. You just kind of, you're going blind. It really is going blind. Unfortunately, there's a lot of good services out there in the Commonwealth, but there's no one there, no one's pointing the way, telling you what to do. So I'm trying to put a little handbook together, what I've experienced the last 7 years with my son and the agencies I've been in touch with, and who to work with, for what reason, when to contact them, because unfortunately the schools don't really tell you what to do. You're kind of on your own, and you have to learn from experience, or hopefully you know someone else that knew someone else that went through what you're about to go through, and it's tough. And I feel for you. It's tough trying to know where you're going to go, what are you going to do. Can he work? Can he get a job? Can he get housing? And every single question is a different state agency, and it's like, who do you talk to here, there? So they don't communicate with each other.
We lost PCA as I applied for guardianship.
Good, Ralph.
Okay. Number 2 on the agenda is communications and discussions with DCR Commissioner Roy regarding accessibility at Revere Beach. To the commission members, I had forwarded you the email with the discussions that I've had with Commissioner Roy, and also I've been contacted by Director McCarthy. Basically, I had contacted them about the disabled and elderly accessibility at Revere Beach, since we are the nation's first public beach. I'd like to see some more accessibility down Revere Beach for our residents that have mobility issues such as walkers, canes, wheelchairs, and whatnot, and also Moby mats, so that people with disabilities will be able to get through the soft sand into the hard sand. They had asked me for a date in August if I could go into Boston, but unfortunately I could not. They are actually working on trying to give me some dates in September that they're willing to come here to Revere to meet with us. Along with the discussions of just the regular beach accessibilities, I do want to also talk to them about the upkeep of the beach, along with some equipment. If you look on the DCR's website, it says that they have in Revere 3 accessible wheelchairs. They're floating wheelchairs. So I'd like to know where those are and how we can get those there. Since this is the nation's first public beach, I'd like to see it being utilized as the nation's first public beach, and the cleanliness of the beach. Another thing that I'm going to be doing before this meeting is I'm going to go from one end of the beach to the other, or I'd like to count how many handicap parking spots there are on that beach, and find out what the ratio is to handicap parking spots to regular parking spots. And also, I did a quick check. Some of the openings to the beach are not ground level. They're step up that I've noticed. Those should all be by ADA regulations. All should be level to the ground. There should not be a step up to them. So I am going to get an accurate count on that. The weather hasn't agreed with me lately to be able to get down there and do that. So, I'll go with you. Yeah. So I want to see how many handicap spots there are, and the ratio for regular spots, and I'd like to see some more handicap spots along with Moby mats should be there. My goal would be to see a Moby mat at every other opening, but I don't think that's going to be, but it should be. If you go to Nahant Beach or any beaches down the Cape, they have tons of them. Why is Revere's first public beach left behind the times? We should be the jewel, since we're the first public beach, not only for our disabled residents that live here in Revere, but all the disabled residents that come and visit the nation's first public beach. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments or any suggestions on that. I look for any input, or anybody has any other suggestions on that. I'd also possibly like to see, I know there was talk about putting a playground down there, or some type of handicap disabled park or something. And I heard that residents at one of the apartment complexes shot that down. I can't see why they have any say in that. DCR owns that property. It's Revere's is a public beach. That should be done. There are other beaches that have splash ponds or anything on the beach or by the beach. That would be something that should be great for our disabled young adults and children that want to be able to use the beach, or may not want to go into the water but still be on the beach, and there could be a splash pad there for children in a wheelchair that could go to, and things like that. These are all things that I'm going to be suggesting to DCR when they come. So I'm looking for any other input or suggestions, and I hope that anybody out there that's watching this, please send me an email with any suggestions. Anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, item number 3 was my July's monthly department cluster meeting with the mayor's office. I had sent you my agenda that I had sent. And one of the there's a couple of items on there that I'm gonna briefly just go down, and then we'll break them down after. One of my main things was renewing the Kids of All Abilities events. Preliminary discussions have happened between Rick Frenny and Mike Hoster of the Revere Recreation Department. We need to try and schedule more events for our disabled youth and young adults in our community. I also know there's been some communications with trying to continue and expand the Special Olympics program in Revere, and wanted to see if the mayor's office can reach out to the appropriate people. I am in communications with the mayor's office, and we are going to be sitting down and having some ongoing discussions on that. Next, we at our last COD meeting in June, one of our members suggested looking to a fundraiser walk for all abilities. Regardless of your diagnosis, we should have all citizens of Revere community to participate in a walk for all abilities. This was received well by other members in the COD, and will be looked into further, as this is another large undertaking by the COD. Next is the handicap accessible automatic door openers that we had sent a letter to the mayor's office and the DPW. I've been in communication with the DPW Director, Paula Gengio, who was gathering information and pricing. Since I did get the go-ahead from the mayor's office, along with Nick Romano of his office a few months ago. These automatic door opening buttons are for the City Hall basement door and the rear entrance of the American Legion building where the offices of the COD and Veterans Affairs are located, and also one at the front entrance of the Legion building once the new stairway ramp is installed. And I have gotten some pricing from Paula Genzio, what that would cost, and I have forwarded that over to the mayor's office. So just waiting to hear on that and to see if that can be done. So the pricing did come to get those automatic door openers. Lastly, one other thing that I discussed at my monthly cluster meeting was I wanted to get some help with the administration to adopt 8J stature. Since we met with the state MOD regarding cities and towns adopting 22G stature, the first step would be to adopt the 8J. What this would do is this would entitle the Commission on Disabilities to be able to get any of the handicap parking violations, any of that money that would be collected would be able to go into a fund for the Commission on Disabilities. That money would be collected, and we would be able to use that for anything to make anything ADA compliant, accessible areas in the town square, or throughout the city, such as the audible traffic signals or anything like that, or any type of ADA programming that we have been discussing that we would like to do and bring into the city, since we do not have any type of funding right now. So that is a couple of things that I had discussed at that meeting. I know that one of the next items that we will be going more in depth with is renewing the Kids of All Ability events. So rather than me fielding any questions on the first item, I'm not sure if anybody has any other questions on any of the other 3 items that I had mentioned for the cluster meeting. Okay, so with that being said, I'll move on to item 5, review recreation discussions regarding programs for children with all abilities, and I'll turn that over to the Vice Chair, Rick Frenny.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I have been in preliminary discussions. I sent a list of tentative dates for several events for September, October, November, and January of 2019 for the Kids of All Ability, from ages 3 on up to young adults up to 22. And we're talking everything from basketball, playing cornhole, baseball games. We're going to do a little flag football, some soccer. And then I was thinking, and these are all tentative, to January, the Sunday before the Super Bowl, which is no one has anything to do. We wanted to perhaps have a Kids of All Ability indoor track and field meet. Michael is on board with the gyms and the parks and the equipment. We just have to cement the dates, hope it's going to happen this week or next week, and then we can put a calendar out for all the events coming up. We will need volunteers for all these events, and all the events will have food. Everything will be courtesy of the mayor's office and the rec, and the Little Ricky Foundation will help provide some of that food as well. And I think it's going to be great. We haven't done it in a few years. I've been, light up for a couple of years. I'm back. I want to kick this thing back into high gear, and I think it's going to be great. We'll have a nice schedule here for the winter and the fall, and we'll just keep it going. So my goal is to have something every 4 to 6 weeks for these kids. Also, the art program, which is not on here. I did discuss with St. Mary's. We do have a couple of nights options. Ralph said he will start ordering the supplies, and once school starts, we can put a date on that, Mondays or Tuesdays. after school. We do have an art teacher who's going to donate her time to help the kids. And once again, this is a place for parents and guardians to bring their children and young adults for art, as well as these Kids of All Ability events. They are not events to drop off your children. They are events to participate with your children, whether you're the parent, guardian, grandparent, uncle, aunt. Everyone is welcome to come onto the field and come into the court, have some fun, eat some burgers, enjoy the day. So that's about it. A lot of good stuff coming down the road there, Mr. Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone have any questions or comments? Just push the button on that.
My name is Ibn.
What's your question, Evan?
About what? Touch the truck? Touch a truck.
Oh, the touch a truck was it?
Yeah.
It's been rescheduled. Is it
Yeah, the
September or
touch a truck
October?
where they have the dump trucks,
Yeah.
the backhoe
I
loaders,
believe
the
it's
front loader
on a
truck.
Sunday, so maybe it's the 15th, at
Actually,
least
do
that's
you
what
like
it
cotton
says.
candy?
I believe from 10 to 1.
Yeah, DJ Ricky.
So it was supposed to take place in July, but it ended up raining, so it's been rescheduled to September.
Hey, that's very good. Thank you.
You're welcome, buddy.
If I may, Ralph? So I just wanted to take a moment, Rick, thank you for scheduling these events for Kids of All Abilities. I just want to point out, back in March, Jennifer Duggan, president of our local CPAC, and myself, along with Special Olympics, and Nick Romano met and had a very good discussion about programming that we wanted to continue running in Revere. At that time, Nick was supposed to take the lead and schedule a follow-up meeting with Special Olympics, as well as Jen and myself, to see what we could get on the calendar. That meeting never took place. I have followed up emailing Nick to see where we're at on that, and he hasn't responded to any of my communications. So I just want to put it out there for anybody who's watching. We've had great success with Special Olympics. They've done a lot for our community, as well as those of us that have volunteered and have been a part of it have done a lot. We even went as far as developed a partnership with Malden Catholic. They were going to come in and offer a 6-week flag football program through Special Olympics that wouldn't cost us any money. And so I guess I'm just putting out there, if anybody's watching, anybody from the mayor's office, I don't know what happened, but we would like to continue our connection with Special Olympics. And just common courtesy, a response to an email would be appreciated.
Anyone else? Next on the agenda is item 6, Enza, and then Michelle will also have something on there for you too.
So during the month of July, Revere CPAC offered numerous free events on Monday afternoons and on Wednesday evenings. Families were able to enjoy animal and reptile shows, along with beach and playground events. Those were, again, all offered free of charge to our local families. In August, we had planned our first ride and glide event. We had to postpone that because of weather. And it was an event where our children and families could ride safely on a bike or scooter in the Wayland School parking lot. It was supposed to be closed off by the police department. But again, we had to postpone that. We're hoping to get that at another time. And then finally, yesterday, Till offered the Revere community an event at Sky Zone where families enjoyed a 2-hour jump and lunch session. And for the fall, CPAC is planning its fall offerings with a monthly meeting and a family event. And in September, we'll have more information about that.
Just to follow up on the CPAC, you had your elections. Can you know who the board is?
Yeah, sure. So we had our elections. Jennifer Duggan is our new president. Peter Del Greco currently is our vice president. That may be changing. He has some different commitments going on, and we're waiting to hear from him. Michelle DeBellis is our secretary, and I am the treasurer.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So-
Michelle?
I'm sorry. So CPAC is our Special Education Parent Advisory Council. Yes. So outplaced families are absolutely welcome and encouraged to come to our meetings. We want as many people there as we possibly can, and we want to hear about different experiences and to find out what our families need. So yes, absolutely. So our next meeting will be in September, and we're meeting on Thursday night to finalize a date. No, so the meeting is once a month, but we're meeting privately to set up our dates and times. Yeah.
Michelle?
So before I go into the dance program, I just wanted to let you know, my son too is outplaced, but I'm on the board with CPAC, and I encourage you to come to our meetings. It's great for all parents, and it's very informative, and we all get to talk and we learn things.
Hi, I'm Priscilla Verona Tunkara, and I agree with you. Michelle? I thought you were Michelle. Okay, I don't want to be crazy up here, but the isolation of having kids with disabilities in, a typical kind of world, and the structures, it's always like, you're pushed over here or sent around in circles. So I appreciate you're welcoming me to go to CPAC, because when you're outplaced, I don't think people will tell you about their town or their CPAC. But can I now just throw all my stuff at you? So I don't have to keep coming up here? No. Crazy, right? All right. Well, I agreed with a lot of your things. These were the reasons why I came back to talk about accessibility issues, the buttons, like the post office. You can't get in the ramp. You can't press it. You can't do the door and hold the door and push the wheelchair in kind of things. So I appreciate any buttons. I know they're federal, and you probably, does the city control? Well, I've asked them about it. They said they need a new building, not just a button. But there's a lot of things. I think the grading of sidewalks is important. I have knee issues, carpal tunnel issues with, muscles.
What
That's
we'll do is
expensive.
one at a time. I'll touch on that. What happens on the sidewalks and whatnot is by the ADA guidelines. Anytime a sidewalk has to be replaced, they have to meet the ADA guidelines. So once a sidewalk or street has to get any type of repairs done or resurfacing, that's when the ADA laws come into effect, and that's when the ADA ramps have to go in. So until they resurface or restructure, they're not obligated to do it because of the grant money that comes in. So
Yeah,
that's,
it's
if you take a look, that there was over a 5-year backlog on any street surfaces or sidewalks being done in the city, and the Mayor Regal's administration has been, I believe, has been catching up on that now. If you take a look at it, there are a lot of handicapped sidewalk ramps have been placed in a lot of different areas. So it is getting there, but it's going to take time for all the sidewalks to meet that. We've also made sure that they've taken all of the parking of vehicles on sidewalks are no longer allowed in the city. If any cars are there, they're going and tagging once they find out.
I'm sorry.
So I just want to let everyone know that for the sidewalk and ADA ramps, that once a road surface is being redone, those are definitely going in and becoming ADA compliant. But until sidewalks unfortunately have to be replaced or redone, there is no guidelines that they have to be done. You can shut that door. I don't know if anybody has any comments on that. Rick, you know a lot about that too, right? About the,
Yeah, during my day job for the Department of Transportation, my job is to talk to property owners that abut state roads when we're doing streets and sidewalks over. And sidewalks, both sides have to be ADA compliant. Got to have those got to have those plates. Those are plates down the ramps, every single road, 5 feet, 5 inches on both sides. That's how it is. It's a lot of work, but it has to be done. End the story. So it's a matter of if there's state roads here, are they going to get state or federal funding, how they're going to do it. And when that happens, we'll let you know. But as far as the city streets go, that's up to the mayor and getting the funding that way.
Yeah.
But I'm not aware of any other state projects coming through here.
I don't know if it's the materials, but the flushness is the problem for that kind of a chair. It can't be a lip and then an angle, because this is how I have to, and my joints have the shock of it.
but what they're putting down is what the ADA is telling them to put down. They can't just put down any type of material or any way. They have certain requirements that have to be done. So the material that they're putting down, the grade that they're putting down, there's specifications. So it's just not, they're not just putting it down any way that they want. There's certain specifications and criteria and measurements that the way that they have to put it down by ADA guidelines has to be a certain pitch, a certain lip. It all has to be done a certain way.
It's on purpose.
That's, yeah,
Even with the little
Yeah.
handicap plate, there's
Yeah.
like a part that, wow.
that's all
The chair
ADA
can't do
compliant.
it. I have to do this.
Yeah, those are all,
Back up.
there's,
I'm killing my body.
yeah, those are all ADA, all by ADA guidelines.
Okay. The snow plowing was my first issue when I came last year.
Yep.
And getting it pushed into the little, that was nuts, I think. But maybe it'll work out the traffic light at the corner of.
Yeah, that's there, doing an investigation. Those are regulated by the state, because Broadway is 107, is a state road. So I know they are doing traffic studies on that, and it's on safe streets. It's on Julie DeMaro's department, and they are working on trying to get the timing done. What it is it's not just that light that has to be corrected. When you adjust that, it works all the way down the whole road. So you can't just change one. They have to do it from one end to the other. So that's what takes the time when doing that. You can't just correct one signal because they all go together.
Okay, I think maybe I should have a talk with just you guys, not this. I feel very public, because this is my major new issue.
But you have to use the mic for a public meeting.
Okay. It's about lighting, fluorescent lights, and hopefully LED lights for sensory integration disorder and overstimulation. It's a big problem for my family right now. The light sensitivity has caused us to use 911 every time we go to the store, and now we know what it is. So we have some glasses as of today, but let's hope that it works. It sort of triggers the nerves, the behavior, I don't know how to describe it, but people in grocery stores come with their videotape phones, and it's painful, and we end up in an ER and a psych unit and all sorts of things. And it was thought to be behavior like being naughty or whatever, and it's gone on for a long time, but it's increasingly gotten worse, and maybe it will as he ages, I don't know, and hopefully the glasses do something to stop it. But I found that I joined a blog, a mother's blog, and the LED lights are the cure in public settings to, I guess if you are thinking of being sensory, I forget, they have a term now, I don't know what the word is, like the neurotypical versus the whatever. They have something about the sensory too, where it's the sensory sensitive kind of environment would use the LED lights because it wouldn't cause this radiation and, yeah, trigger all of that. So now that I've learned these things, sort of learned them, I'm exposed to these concepts and I saw for the past few years what happened, and I recognize the patterns. I'm seeking it. I'm seeking a way to change as many public places or make the awareness very clear as to how it affects people. I'm looking to promote an autism protocol. If you're looking at me very seriously, I'm getting scared.
No.
Okay.
Nope.
The autism protocol, I would like that to be, I think there's a new word for it, something about neuro profile should be as important as any other. I visited some hospitals, they have posters saying who they help and you don't have to pay, and mental health is offered free. If you have to have it, just come in and we'll help you. Well, the autism behavioral profile may look like mental health, may look like, and that's such a broad thing. So you may subscribe to those things, but the psychopharm might not be the solution. I think developmental and behavioral, here I go, methods would be the first approach. The sensory piece that I'm talking about, many ERs have huge lighting.
Right.
So if you have a light sensitivity, if you have a sound sensitivity, that's another thing. So having an area in many public places for sensory kinds of unloading is what I'm trying to say. And schools should be the first place. And even to create a sensory room or a program that does that kind of adjusting. There was something we used, Gambaru and Saugus, but she's shuttered now. She's an OT and she does the sensory diet. To have those sort of inputs, because they help regulate the nerves, they decompress the nerves. And it's simple things like movements or, vestibular input and proprioceptive and just heavy loading, lifting. And sometimes it's carnival rides. That's what, and sometimes kids do it naturally. They might push furniture around. They might stack things. These are all
To
feeding,
decompress.
Right, so to allow these profiles to be appreciated and recognized publicly, medically, education, institutionally wide, because it's like we're a circus act, it seems right now. If we're not 911 all over the place, and God bless the police here, the firemen, because they have a lot of information that I didn't really have at first. I didn't know. Get off the floor. Why are you rolling on the floor? But he had maybe 2 hours initially to be in a store. Then it went to 1 hour. Then 40 minutes. It was 15 minutes at that point, and he couldn't take it. And he's just rolling around, and and they're calling that, and I'm trying to get in there and get it, but he's like, ah. So we had an evaluation, and they explained that's painful. That's optic nerve charging from these lights. It really hurts him, but he doesn't express it like, ouch, it hurts me.
Right.
He has a behavior. So these are the things that police and firemen and first responders probably know a lot more, but should be somehow a public health kind of, that's my goal, to create a thing. This is not, I've seen on Facebook people who used a certain drug last year and they would go wild and scream and vomit and roll and run into traffic. I don't know what that drug is, I don't remember. But people videotape everything and they publish it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the level of exposure I want people to have. This behavior is not a joke, it is not a drug, it is a neurodevelopment issue, and recognize it, and these are the things to do. Get them to quiet, dim lighting, or whatever. Okay, I've said all I can say. And
Anybody?
more stuff for older kids, transitioning older, and I'm thinking in terms of monthly DJ Ricky dances. Or, I'm sorry, I know you have your load. I don't know. If he wants to start a walk thing similar to, walk run, because he has to. Those rainy days we just had, he had to go to camp yesterday and he just took off. It was 23 minutes before everything was good, but the police, of course, understood. Well, I think he was cooped up and he ran to the hill park and they said, we're having camp, you can't come in. So he's disappointed, but the idea is he wanted to go around the track. So he has to go back to that kind of a structure because he did it with EMARC, the track, once a week. So I'm getting older and weaker, and I have to have this in the community, so I'm trying to get people to buy a t-shirt and go walk and run and stroll and roll with him once a week or something. But you guys have a plan, so we'll have to try to latch into this, and hopefully you have more stuff for his age. Otherwise, we'll just be in the house until we're not. Okay, thank you.
Michelle, you want to comment?
So you're very passionate, and I understand completely because I live it.
Yeah.
I think unless you live it, you don't fully grasp or understand it or appreciate it. I know exactly what you're saying, and that's what we're trying to do, especially with CPAC and everything that we try to do for the kids. It starts with awareness, and there still needs to be more awareness. My son lives that every day. It's sensory processing disorder,
Yes.
noise, sound, lights, and I'm 100% agree with you, and that's what we're all trying to do. And we'll get there. People will get there. It's out there now, it's getting there, it's just taking time, but you're right, he needs an out, especially certain areas, certain places. There should be, whether it's a quiet room, a sensory room, something for kids, young adults, anyone under the spectrum umbrella to decompress and just kind of get that relaxation they need, get it out. And he also should be able to run and do things, and there should be more. And we're trying, we'll get there. Because absolutely, it doesn't matter what age you are. You need to have an out, and you need to be able to do these things. Thank you for coming.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for speaking.
Thank you guys too, very much. I appreciate that with this crowd, you're going so.
Ralph, can I add something? I just want to say you're a great advocate. I've known you for a few years now. You're wonderful, wonderful to your son. And like Michelle said, it's awareness, and we're trying. I have a little foundation, Row to Revere for Autism, came on board last year. Now they're here, and with CPAC, and I know this is a commission on disabilities, but I know I could speak for the three of us here and the two young ladies to my left that autism is near and dear to us. And as far as young adults and children post-grad after 18 years old, I can't tell you how many times my son would say, I'm bored. I'm cooped up in this house. What can I do? Well, and I'm at work.
Yeah.
I'm an hour and 2 hours away up in Amesbury working on a project, and mom's out with the girls, and he's there by himself, and he needs a place. He needs a place. He needs his mentor back, and he needs just somewhere just to go, whether it's just going to the gym or just going on the track just to walk around. I totally understand where you're coming from.
I said, it's raining.
Yeah, I told you, we can do something else. Yeah, we can do something else. We can go to a gym, we can walk on a treadmill, put headphones on, do whatever we have to do. But I'm on board with you regarding all the sensory things. I totally understand where all these coming from. So awareness and CPAC, I'm sure will bring some young adult awareness, people from maybe some state agencies, whether it's Department of Disability, DDS, or whether it's from MRC, and just work our way across the state agencies, sort of get a representative on stuff that you and I and other families in the same boat can look forward to, and this way we can really have a full circle from early intervention to young adult to post-grad, and really circle. CPAC is a wonderful group. They helped me out a lot when my son was young. So I would totally recommend you go there, learn, make some friends, throw some questions out, and if they don't have the answers, they'll bring someone to next month's meeting that will have the answers for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank all of you.
I just also wanted to reiterate what has already been said. Thank you for everything you said. My son also has a sensory integration disorder diagnosis as well as autism. He's 7 years old. We've learned a lot of stuff we had no idea about and couldn't understand. We have somewhat a better understanding at this time. The one thing we've been looking at the past few months is bringing groups together. Instead of having all these individual organizations in the city, it's important for us to all come together with this common goal of helping others and making lives easier for others. So as often as you can, I encourage you to come out, whether it's to a CPAC meeting or a Commission on Disabilities meeting. We need people to come out to our meetings and to let us know the areas of need. And we need to work together. So thank you.
Invite and for being there knowingly. You know, it's not like you're appointed and you go home at 5. It's more like you're here after 5 because of your life. So I appreciate that, and thanks. And we'll try harder to get out of the house.
Okay, Michelle, do you want to?
So as Enzo was just saying, there's all these wonderful organizations, and right now we're trying to just kind of all get together and work together, and that leads me into the dance program that was held over the summer. So Row Revere is another wonderful organization, and they just had their second annual Row Revere Canoe fundraising event on Saturday, and it was wonderful. It was a huge community event. People got together. It was a great turnout, and in turn, they offer things throughout the year back to the community for all abilities. So what we did this past summer, 100% sponsored by Row, the Dance Junction in Saugus offered a 5-week dance movement program for children of all abilities, ages 5 through 9. And once a week on Wednesday for 45 minutes, they had this wonderful program. They got to move it and shake it and do anything they wanted and be themselves. Talking about getting them out and getting that energy out and going. It was a wonderful program. I can't thank Row enough, and also the Dance Junction. It was wonderful. So what they're going to do now is do a fall program. So details will follow, and I'll put it out there again, and I'm working with Stacy from Row, and also I am working with Lauren from the Dance Junction, and they'll offer this again. We'll let everybody know, but it's just wonderful, and again, it's the community coming together. And this was 100% funded by Row, no cost to the families. It was wonderful. Enza's son attended, so I know she can talk about it, but I just wanted to thank them and let everyone know. We'll get information out there for fall. Thank you.
Michelle, can you talk more about how many students?
So the turnout for this first program we did ended up being 7 students, and believe it or not, they were all men, all little boys. No girls this time, but hopefully for the fall, it just went that way. But the instructor, Lauren, has a special ed background. She also had two team members that helped her, volunteered their time, and they have a special ed background. They were ABA therapists. It was just wonderful, wonderful.
And also, is there a limit of how many students that they would take?
So they didn't necessarily give a limit, but I would assume, and from talking to Lauren, if it was too many, we were going to do a waiting list and then offer it again. But this turnout was just the 7 little boys, so there was no need for a waiting list, and everyone got to attend.
Thank you. Rick, I know you have something that you wanted to add also? The No, to the agenda updates or reminder, schedule of events.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know we're on, I didn't know we're on number 8. I apologize. Is that what you want me to discuss? I can discuss it now? Okay. Yeah, well, everyone's doing a great job, and it'll be great if we can get Roro, CPAC, and the Little Ricky. Just have one big, massive event. That'll be awesome. Something we should talk to Stacy and you guys. Something we plan. But I just want to let everyone know we are having our annual autism golf tournament on Saturday, October 6th at the Old Newbury Country Club out in Raleigh, Mass., which is right across from Governor's Academy on Old Route 1. It is tea time, 1 o'clock, and includes golf, kart, food, Little Ricky autism jerseys, and all for $125. And all the money, as usual, goes to supplies, field trips, and scholarships, yeah. So we already got our 2 teachers now have emailed me with their supply list that school starts in a couple of weeks. So we're working on those. And so the money stays here with the school kids. More information's on the Little Ricky website, littlericky.vpweb.com. But that's October 6th. Golfers, non-golfers, first-timers, ladies, men, everyone of all ages is welcome. Thank you, Mr. President, Commissioner, sir. No, I don't, no, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any other items? Okay, on to old business. A couple of things we've already touched on. One was the update on the HB accessible automatic door openers, so I've already touched on that, so we can skip over that. Next was the continued discussion and ideas of COD subcommittees and duties. If nobody has anything else to discuss on that, we'll just table that and just keep that on there. The next item was update on Children's Full Inclusion Art Program, and Rick already had discussed that when we were talking about upcoming events, so we can go over that, pass that right along. The next thing is the update on accessibility surveys that the Commission on Disability has out there. I just wanted a reminder to our residents out there that the Commission on Disabilities does have an disabled accessibility survey that we would like all our residents to please fill out. They can be picked up at City Hall in the mayor's office. They could also be picked up at the Commission on Disabilities office, which is located in Veterans Affairs, and downstairs in the Legion building across from the building department. And they can also be downloaded from the Disabilities website on revere.org. It is very important that we have everybody fill those out and send them back. They will help us out so that we know the disabled residents and children in our community, so that we know what types of programs and what types of needs will be out there when we try going for some funding. That would be greatly helpful. If anybody has any questions, they could feel free to reach out to the Commission on Disabilities office at 781-286-8267. So that's what I have on old business. Next, I have, if there's any late items, does anybody have any late items. I just have one late item that I'll discuss that I have just submitted again for the third year to the state MOD for a municipality grant for us to be able to hopefully be awarded some money so that we can do a self-evaluation and transition plan for the city of Revere that will allow us to bring in a outside consultant to be able to go through the entire city of our streets and municipal buildings to see what types of ADA accessibility issues we have. I have applied again for $125,000. That will be decided on if it's awarded, I believe, the first week of December. So that has been done and submitted. I had Julie DeMauro from Healthy Initiatives once again help me. Thank you so much for that. So that has been submitted, and hopefully the third time is a charm, and hopefully we will get it. And that will help us out greatly as a distinguished guest of honor in the audience has mentioned. So this way we'll be able to see all our needs for all our municipal buildings in the city where there's a need, because as of right now, the way we're finding out is by people letting us know where there is a need. I was contacted about the high school recently not having a handicap accessible button at the main entrance door, along with the ramp and walkway being very deplorable, with a lot to be broken up. So I have contacted the superintendent's office, and I'm waiting for a meeting so that I can go down there and discuss that with them. So that's the only way I can find out, is from residents letting me know when there's an issue. So I greatly appreciate it, and please don't hesitate to call the office or send me an email. And I will be following up on that. So any issues that anyone finds, please let us know. Also, if anyone knows of any handicap signs that are not being used, please send me an email so that we can look into it and have that handicap sign be removed. That's no longer being used on the city streets. I've also gotten some calls to some businesses that either have handicap parking spots that are they're not making sure that people with handicap placards are utilizing them. There's a couple of businesses, I do not want to name them on air, but I've been in communication with the parking department and the Revere Police to go down and start tagging there, since the manager of the facilities their answer is, we don't know what we can do. That's not the proper answer. And I contacted one of the residents who actually had a confrontation with one of the people parking in the spot that wanted to basically have a fight with them. They did not want to move out of the handicap spot, and they shouldn't have been there. Also, there's a couple of businesses that have their employees park in the handicap spot, delivery drivers that shouldn't be doing that. So I'll be taking that issue up and making sure that those spots are definitely designated and redone, and making sure that they're no longer having drivers or employees parking in those spots, so that our disabled residents will be able to use those parking spots. So if anybody sees any of that, please contact me and let me know. I don't know if anybody has any questions or any input on any of that. Let me see what's next. Is there any more comments or questions anyone else has? Next steps, I know, Rick, you'll be following up with the rec department?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I will be, my next steps is with the mayor's office, looking for meetings with Special Olympics, also with what I'm trying to do with the handicap parking violations, trying to move on that. I don't know if anyone else has any other next steps they want us to look into. And just as a reminder, the Commission on Disabilities, this is item number 11. The Commission on Disabilities has office hours on Fridays from 8:15 to 12:15 in the Veteran Services Office in the rear of the Legion Building at 249 R Broadway, which is next door to City Hall. You can call for an appointment if you'd like, but you do not need one. You'll be able to talk to someone from our 311 Constituent Service Center on other days when you call our office number at 781-286-8267. They should be able to answer most of the questions, but if they're unable to, or if you would like to call back from someone from our office, they can transfer you to our voicemail, and we will get back to you as soon as possible. Also, please let us know if you'd like something discussed or brought up and added to our monthly agenda meetings. We meet the second Tuesday of every month here in the City Council chambers at 6 p.m. And just as a reminder that the commission here is to help and assist all the disabled residents and families here in the city of Revere. So anything that we can do, we always do our best. As you can see, we have great members on our commission that go over and above and are not only involved in the Commission on Disabilities, but are also involved in other organizations in our city for the good and welfare of not only themselves, but all the disabled residents and citizens in our city. Any other business?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second? All right, motion to adjourn. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, September 11th at 6 p.m. Thank you. Have a good night.